want to get her name out there. I want it to, people to remember her, because it just feels like Hope County wants it to be forgotten. I just feel like we're not getting anywhere. They have evidence that's not being pursued and taken care of in the right way.
Right.
And I'm not understanding. We're going on 2 years now, and still nothing.
It seems to be that way with a lot of cases, especially ones involving, like, teenagers around that area.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of drugs going on, and, I'm not going to say that my daughter was an angel, but she also didn't deserve to die, just because of whatever the reason was.
Right.
Period. There's never going to be a good enough reason for me why somebody had to kill my child.
That's, I'm so sorry for your loss. That's something that I think people don't understand, that any life, I don't think, is necessarily without value. But especially a child's life. You're telling me that a 17-year-old did so much bad in their life that they can be murdered and cast aside.
Yeah.
And that no one should ever care. And that's, it's completely false.
Well, and the part of the thing that gets me is I was never an angel myself, and I came out of it, and I pushed on. I've been 16 years sober myself. And like I said, I came out of it, and I saw that in my daughter. I knew that she could get past it. And she was even talking about wanting to be done with all of it. She was excited that she was going to be old enough to finally have a job, do things, and then they just jerk her life away from her.
Right. That seems to be a similar case. I've talked to her many times before, but I just did a live with Ashton Campbell's mom, and he was at the stage where he was about to go into rehab whenever he was murdered.
Yeah, and me and my daughter had talked about that. I told her, I said, whatever you want to do, I am behind you 100%. Mm-hmm. I'll make sure that no matter what, because like I said, I've been in those situations myself before, and I wanted to make sure that my daughter was never a burden on anyone. I made it a point to, we called and talked to each other several times a week. I always knew where she was at. I always made sure she had clothes, she had food, and she had, what she needed, so she was not a burden to someone else. So she didn't have to beg or ask or plead,
Right.
To be thrown away like a piece of trash. Tossed in the woods, oh well. That's what I don't understand. She was found on federal property. Wildlife refuge is not federal property, I don't feel like anybody's doing anything. I've reached out to our governor of the city. I've reached out to our state representatives. I've reached out to all these people. Emailed, and I get nothing.
If it was federal land, shouldn't the FBI be covering it?
I would think, but of course, you call and they say, if it's an active case, I cannot talk to you about it. And that's all I get. I get nothing. I never get like a weekly thing. You would think from a detective at least once a week, hey, we're still working on this case, I never hear anything like that. The only time that I hear anything is when I have to reach out to him. And I get the same thing. Nothing yet. Still nothing yet. They have DNA. And they say that they've tested it against people that have gone to jail, but what about profiling? What about, the ancestry? I don't understand. And they keep giving me this, first it was, we got to see if we have the funds for that. Now, just recently, it's that people that take care of that, they've changed hands. Now we have to wait for them to approve anything like that.
I did, I don't know if you know her, but, Brandy Hutchins, who was found murdered in Coal Hill back in 1987, I think is the year. I did a live with her family member not that long ago, and she is trying to raise money for Parabon Nanolabs. They do
what the detectives told me, if you can find a way to get it done yourself, you go right ahead.
Okay, but here's the thing with Parabon. Parabon told her that they will be more than happy to do it, but and what they do is they come up with a profile. They take the DNA sample, and they can even a lot of times come up with like a picture of what the person might look like.
Yeah, like say he's blonde hair, blue eyes, this, that, that. Yeah, right.
But the detective...
That's what I'm talking about, the profile.
Right. The detective has to be the one to reach out. They'll do it, but they only do it if the detective reaches out. And then I think that they will work with you, but the detective has to call them. I mean, even if you paid for it, they still have to say, hey, can we get your help?
Right. Well, and that's the thing, you know. They've told me anything that I want to do, I can go ahead and try to do myself, knowing full well that I can't do anything without them. Just like the crime lab people have completely stopped taking my calls. No one calls me back anymore. Nothing. You know, and in order to get the DNA, you'd have to get a hold of the crime lab, you know, to give to these people, right? And I know I don't have anything over that.
Right.
But I'm trying to get something done, and it feels like I just keep getting a kick in the face everywhere I turn. You know, it hurts because she was someone to me. She may not have been anybody to anybody else, but she was someone to me. And nobody saw her worth like I did.
So Savannah was 17 years old. Do you want to talk a little bit about her?
She just turned 17.
Okay.
Yeah, she's literally just turned 17 in August. Like I said, she was kind of running the streets and such, you know, but she had just did a job, like a roofing job for someone, and she was so very proud of herself. You know, and I was proud of her too. Like I said, I tried to keep up with her. She called me in October. Of course, we talked, like I said, every week, at least twice a week. I would go out to where she was at, you know, wherever she asked me to find her at, I'd go there, you know, and I'd go to Dollar General and get her food, whatever I needed to do, you know. But in October, the week of my birthday, October 19th, she called me and asked me, hey, Mom, can I hang out with you? And I feel so shitty about it now, but I was like, no, baby, you know, it's my day. I'm going to take it for myself, you know, and stuff. And then just, 3 days later, she's gone. 2 days before I found out about her and finding her body, I had called. I went by this house looking for her. Me and my son did. He said the last people she was seen with, give them a call. I'd like to tell you their names, but I also don't, you know.
Oh, no. If you don't feel comfortable releasing information, then please don't feel bad about that, because some of that does have to be kept. You know what I'm saying? And I completely understand.
Okay, so, well, I called those people, and I said, hey, have you seen Savannah? And they were acting really weird on the phone. And they're like, why do you want to know? Why do you do it? You know, and I kept going, well, she's my daughter, and I just, you know, wanted to see her. Me and my son wanted to hang out with her. Well, I have no clue. And then they hung up on me. Well, then, you know, 2 days later, she's found dead. And then they pull in everybody, supposedly, that had been at this house that they were out at. Not the one that I had stopped by to where she got picked up at, but the boyfriend's house and his father. And was her boyfriend, and is his dad. And from what I understand, they did bad things to my daughter. But I don't know who all's involved. You know, there's so many people that supposedly were there. But what I was getting at is they pulled those two guys in and said, hey, you know, did you see her? Were you? And she was with them that night. and they would not let me talk to her. They lied to me about her being with them, and I didn't understand that because they'd never done that before. And those two people, I know for a fact, are in with the NAE war.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
mm-hmm.
These white supremacists. So, you know, and she had, you know, when you're in with the drugs, you kind of flip-flop between boys and things like that. And I think there was a few situations of that she was flip-flopping, you know, and one boy that she had been seeing, which I had known, if I'd known who he was and how old he was, you know, I would have tried my best to put a stop to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But she said that one day she came up to me and when I went and picked her up, and she said he had burned her. She showed me a burn mark on her face, and then he spit on her and he slapped her, and he said that, you know, something to the effect that if he wanted to, he'd fucking kill her and throw her body in the woods. Mm-hmm. And then that's exactly how she was. There's supposed videos out there, which I can't even fathom that somebody can actually video somebody being murdered. Somebody supposedly has a video of it. I've been trying my hardest to try to find out. Somebody supposedly has a video of her already laying on the ground, and there's another boy with his hands tied behind his back. Somebody that was trying to help her, I guess. And then, I mean, I don't know if it shows anything with him or not, but, you know, it pains me. I mean, I love the fact that somebody was trying to help my daughter, but also in the same notion, I don't know if that person was killed either.
How long after her boyfriend made that threat to her, or how long after she told you did this happen?
I think it was just a couple of days because the burn mark on her face was still kind of fresh looking. Mm-hmm. But then she went back to this boy. And from what I understand, I was told that some people gave her a hot shot. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know. Okay, I don't really understand it, but I do get the gist of it, that somebody gave her a hot shot, and they were trying to kill her that way, and it didn't end up working. And then, you know, they murdered her. And the thing is, with the they live just not but around the corner from where she was found. You know, it's just... I don't know.
What kind of drugs was she using? Was it just...
She was using meth.
Meth.
As far as I know, because she even told me, she's, Mama, I can't even get high anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm done. I just want to be done with all this.
How long had she been using?
And I'd rather... it had probably been a year. Mm. It could have even been longer. I mean, I had noticed changes in her. She was on ADHD medication when she was at home.
Right.
And, you know, it was getting more frequent where she wanted it more often.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I had actually stopped her off that medication, you know, because I thought, you know, there's something going on here. I did the best I could with her being on the streets because, like I said, I knew how it was. I did those things myself, you know, and so I wanted to make sure that she wasn't a burden. I wanted to make sure I knew where she was at. And I let her tell me things that I never wanted to hear. Mm-hmm. But because, you know, I wanted to know who was who and what was what and things like that, you know.
Right.
And she would have told me anything. You know, we were close. We were very close. And she would have told me anything. And I don't believe it has anything to do with drugs or her stealing drugs or anything like that.
Right.
I personally think that she saw something she wasn't supposed to.
Well, I mean, and to your credit,
other people saying that.
To your credit,
sorry,
she came to you and told you things because you set up that relationship to where she could come and tell you, even if you didn't want to hear it, she still felt comfortable enough to tell you.
Right.
And probably you have more information than you would have otherwise because of that.
Yes, yeah, and like I said, knowing where she was at, whose houses were what, and things like that, who was who. I mean, she did even know Ashton Blake, from what I understand.
She didn't?
I knew that they were friends on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
She did.
All right.
They were even friends on Facebook and things, and I think he had come to Yale County a few times, for drugs and stuff like that. I mean, as far as I know, Ashton saw something that he wasn't supposed to see,
Right. Yeah. Well, one major difference in his case is that they don't even have him down as being a murder victim, so.
I know, right?
That's crazy.
So sad. It's ridiculous, but at least I can honestly say that at least they closed the case on him, where she could try to have somebody else try to figure it out,
Mm-hmm.
With mine, it could go 100 years. As long as it's open case, they said it's theirs.
Do you mind telling the current detective on the case?
It is Detective Brown. He's Polk County detective.
So.
And then supposedly I have a state guy too, Matt something or other, but he never speaks anymore. I've messaged him and he doesn't speak anymore, so I don't know.
So you're from Yale County. You live in Yale County. Is that right?
No. I live in Polk County. We see this thing. I moved from Kansas because I was a drug addict.
Mm-hmm.
I moved down here thinking that my children would have a better life. I get one in prison, one's dead, But I currently live in Polk County.
Okay.
And that's the hard thing. She was found on a reserve. You have to go through Yale County to get to it, but it's supposedly considered Polk County.
Okay. I guess that's what my confusion was.
Yeah. And that's where she had been hanging out, was in Yale County.
So you last saw her 2 days before.
No, I spoke to her.
Spoke to her 2 days before she.
Well, no, not 2 days. It was like the Monday of that week.
Okay.
Is when I actually spoke to her on the phone, and she asked if she could hang out with me.
Okay, and she was found on Saturday in the early morning hours.
Yes.
Okay.
And then it was put on Facebook, and my son, because I was in Clarksville at the time for my niece's daughter's birthday party, and they called me, and they said that they identified Savannah, that Savannah's tattoos were on Facebook.
Right. I do remember.
Somebody to identify.
I do remember
seeing
that.
My son went up there, and that's the only way. They wouldn't. Well, I don't know if he wouldn't look at the pictures, or they said you shouldn't look at the pictures, but he did identify her by her tattoos because no one else had that. And of course, it was her.
Did they say how long they thought that she had been deceased for, or anything like that?
No. I think it wasn't long because it was a hunter that found her, like in the early mornings. And in the very beginning, his wife reached out to me and said that he had believed that she was strangled to death. Well, I have heard stories as well that that's not how she died. I can tell you that. But that the two people that she left with that I had tried to get a hold of, one of those persons was there that night and supposedly had tried to strangle her and couldn't do it because he was an ex-boyfriend. So imagine that's how, I don't believe that she was killed out there. I believe she was brought out there and felt. And, the police, well, I understand it's an investigation and things like that, but they still won't even let me know the exact spot she was found. They won't There's no initial police report I can get. You know, as far as like the crime lab stuff, I can't have any of that. They said, the police told me that whatever I wanted to know, I could ask them. Well, I don't trust them.
Right.
To what they say, you know. You know, I've heard she was, they've told me she wasn't, but I don't know. You know. They say they've told me, the detectives told me that there was 2 different males' DNA on her. And nobody has matched that. I find that very hard to believe that nobody has matched that. Out of all the people and everybody around that's in this drug game that have been arrested so many times, and nobody's matched it at all.
But they're not taking DNA samples over people that are from people that are just arrested. They're taking DNA samples from people that are charged, that are convicted, right?
Yes.
Of felonies.
Well, they said that when they came in that they asked for DNA and some people gave it, some people didn't. But like 90% of these people are felonies. They all have drug charges and things like that. So that's what I'm not understanding.
Yeah, I think you have to be convicted of a felony or a violent crime for them to take the DNA.
Yeah.
I mean, you can willingly give your sample.
Unless you willingly give it, yeah. Mm-hmm. Which there was some people that, from what I understand, willingly gave it. You know, and they tried to tell me that the one guy that had burned her and stuff, they said they pulled him in and gave him a lie detector test, and he passed.
The lie detector test,
from my understanding. Well, and from my understanding, they told him, we need you to come in to take a lie detector test. And I gave him time to do whatever he needed to do. And obviously, they didn't ask the right questions, like, have you ever hurt Savannah? Have you ever put your hands on her? You know.
Mm-hmm.
Because regardless, even if he's not the person that killed her, that would have been a lie. And so he would not have passed.
Well, I mean, lie detector tests are inadmissible for a reason. They're not accurate at all. I wouldn't trust just because he passed that he didn't do it.
Yeah, and they were like, well, aren't you happy about that? See, the dad, he's currently in jail right now, of the boys. Dad, at the time, was Savannah's boyfriend at that time, at that moment, from what I understand. They went to his house, asked him for his phone, and he broke it in front of him. He is now sitting in jail for that, and they have told me that they sent that to Quantico, the FBI agency. Mm-hmm. But like I said, we're going on 2 years now, and nothing.
How long ago did they supposedly send the phone off?
December of over a year ago.
So December of 2021, when she, a month and a half after she was found?
Or 20, yeah. That December, yes, from what I understand. And he's serving time for that, you know. And I had talked to the prosecuting attorney here, and it was really just kind of like a smack in the face. I went to the prosecuting attorney, and he said, well, aren't you happy? He got 7 years for that. And I was like, you and I both know how much time he's going to spend on that 7 years.
Was that Jeff?
He just hung his head down. Yeah.
Was that Jeff Phillips?
Yep, Jeff. Yeah. Well, let me just tell you, the very first time I went up to talk to him, that was my second time. Mm-hmm. I was by myself the first time, and I left there crying. He was so very, very rude to me, and I thought, this is the person that's supposed to be representing me and my daughter, and he was so rude to me. Very hateful about me. You do whatever the F you want. I was like, I was asking, because the detective had told me at that point in time, he's like, well, you need to ask the prosecuting attorney if you are wanting to go to the media or whatever, because I didn't know how this worked. You know, I didn't know. And he's like, well, you do whatever the F you want to. I was like, well, I'm just asking if it's okay to put something in the newspaper, asking the public for their help, you know, things like that. And he was just so totally rude about it, mean and hateful. And then the next time I came, I had my husband come with me, and he was total opposite.
Mm-hmm. That's what Jeff Phillips said? Do whatever the F you want to?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You're going to do whatever you want to do anyway, so just do whatever the F you want to.
Mm.
And I was like, these are supposed to be the people that are representing us. And, it scares me. It bothers me a lot. Because obviously it's not important to him either.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he is elected to that position to protect families and stand up for them and get justice. It's really super crappy to be that way.
Well, and that's one thing in the beginning I kept getting. The detective would say, well, you need to talk to the prosecuting attorney. The prosecuting attorney is like, why are you talking to me about this? You need to talk to the detectives about this. So I was like, I've got nowhere now. Well, she deserves justice just as much as anybody else would.
It shouldn't be a matter of money. It should be just because her life mattered.
Right. She was a young girl surrounded by a bunch of grown men. And grown women as well, too. They knew how young she was. They knew. And they still did drugs with her. They still, treated her like shit. They stole all her things all the time. I mean, it was a weekly. I was buying her clothes. She'd have nothing,
So do you know anything about anything that was found with her when she was found? Or on her?
No. They gave me a necklace. I don't know if it was on her, if it was in her pocket. I got nothing. They said she was found in her tank top. She always wore like a bikini bra or whatever, and a tank top. And then she had her little shorts and her shoes. Well, they said her shirt was ripped, like almost off. According to them, they said her pants were done up and her shoes were on. I don't have any of those things. I'm assuming that's evidence as well.
Right.
The one thing I do know is that when it came time to view her body, which I couldn't bring myself to do, but my husband and my son and my stepdaughter all went viewed her. They said how short her hair was. My daughter never wore her hair short. She just 2 weeks before that was bragging, Mama, look how my hair's so much longer than yours. And I'm like, I know, baby, it's so pretty. I don't know. I haven't gotten any information on that. Like, why would it? I mean, I don't think a coroner or anybody else would cut her hair. I know the funeral home didn't.
So do you think that was done as like a sign of disrespect or...
Yeah, I do kind of. I think so because she was very proud of it, and I know there were some girls that were involved with Jacob as well that were very jealous of her.
I mean, they should be able to tell if her hair was cut because if it would have been jagged or crooked,
Yeah, she always wore this big old messy bun on the top of her head, a lot of times because it was a lot of hair,
Mm-hmm.
So and to know that there was people around, and only one person tried to stand up for her and maybe even lost their life because of it too. It sickens me. It makes me so sick that people could know. I don't care how scared you are. Believe. Tell somebody. Nobody's doing the right thing. We get little bits and pieces of stories, but nobody's telling the true facts. From what I understand, I don't know how many people that supposedly was involved in this is in jail right now for drugs, And that maybe they are trying to work on something bigger, but I would think that my daughter's a priority. I would think that a murder case is priority over a drug trafficking, I don't even know. Maybe it was sex trafficking. From what I understand, he liked little girls.
So they won't... They won't update you on the case. The ASP officer won't take your calls now.
Yeah, I haven't heard from the state guy in forever. I just finally quit messaging him.
Mm-hmm. The prosecutor.
No, the Detective Brown, he gets back with me, but it's always short, still nothing, do whatever, kind of thing.
Right. Have you flat out asked him if he would contact someone like Parabon?
Yeah, I even researched like different companies and sent him so many different companies, but they said that they're still trying to find out if the state can fund that or not.
If you had to fund it, could you though?
I probably couldn't. I've got a GoFundMe up for her right now, and I'm the only person that has contributed to it. I mean, I GoFunded for her funeral costs because, like I said, I make minimum wage.
Right.
I'm living in someone's garage right now, because this has tore not only did I lose my daughter, I lost my home, I lost my husband. I mean...
if you send me the link...
It's very, very hard to keep going,
I can't imagine. I really can't.
But GoFundMe, hoping that... And I put on there, I was trying to do... What I want to do is if I could raise a substantial amount for either a reward, hoping somebody would think, well, that's enough money that I can get out of here, I can get away, and I can, say what I got to say and go. And if that wasn't the case, then I was going to use that money towards trying to, get this DNA tested.
Yeah, I mean, those are both good ideas. I know it seems like a long shot, but I would contact the Crime Junkie podcast. They have a thing called Season of Justice, and they do cover the cost. They have money that they raise to cover the cost of DNA testing. It might be worth a shot to reach out to someone like that. They work closely with Parabon, but like I said, you would have to the detective would have to agree that if you covered the cost or had someone else cover the cost,
right.
And that Parabon agreed to do it, that he would reach out to them. I mean, he has to reach out to them.
Right.
And honestly, why wouldn't he want to? Because that would make his job easier.
Exactly. I mean, when you want to be known for solid child, okay.
Right.
Whatever it is. Would you mind sending me that information?
Yeah.
Messengers?
Absolutely. And if you will send me the link to her GoFundMe, I can put that in my link tree. And also, I will put something on my YouTube. I don't use my YouTube, and I don't have a ton of followers, but that's something that you would be able to share.
Right. Okay.
And then...
Yeah, because like I said, I don't have TikTok or anything. I mean, I could download it. I just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't use it for anything.
Right.
I mean, I think I might have an account. I think my daughter actually started one for me one time, and I, didn't ever mess with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's understandable. I can't promise that you would get anything from it, but I will certainly try.
As long as somebody listens, that's all that matters to me.
Oh, absolutely.
It would be nice to be able to come up with this money, but I mean, as long as somebody's listening and here's her story, maybe they'll share it with someone else. And maybe somebody will come forward. Maybe somebody will do the right thing. Maybe, something.
Yeah, I mean, listen, these drug people, they are loyal as long as their drug habit is involved, but a decent reward could change that. Relationships break up, stuff like that, and people get angry with one another, and they eventually do hopefully tell. But I do think, keeping these cases out there where people are seeing all the time, of course, if nobody is hearing about a case, it's not going to be on anybody's mind.
Right.
Except for yours and your family.
Like a little tiny snippet in the newspaper when it happened, and that was it.
Right.
I even had called the news channels, things like that. I had talked to, I believe it was Channel 11 lady. She came out, we did an interview, I did all that, and then she called me, I think it was a month, maybe 2 later, because she said, it'll be a little while before I can get this out. Then she called me and she said, they're not going to run it.
See, it's just
an
crazy.
open case. But she had told me before it didn't matter if it was an open case. That's why she did the interview.
They do things on open cases all the time that doesn't make any sense. In fact, THV, KATV, they constantly are sharing things like, oh, it's been 2 years since this person died.
I see stuff all the time, and I have emailed and, done all those things. Like I said, I just feel like I keep getting kicked in the face. That was time I turn around. Nobody wants to listen. Nobody cares.
Well, I will assure you that I'm going to put something up on this case. I'm going to try to keep it out there. I want you to be able to get justice for your daughter, and I'm not going to let it go. I can't promise it'll help. But I will try.
To me, just anybody saying her name makes it matter again,
Right.